Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're doing episode 3 of our body piercing questions and answers series. It was about a month ago we did our last video. We really wanted to do them a lot sooner, but we're pretty busy, and to get to these videos, it just takes a lot of time. But today we're trying to answer as many questions as we can from the last video that we did for you guys. You guys had a lot of really good questions. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you guys are liking these. And just to kind of make this video shorter, let's just get right to it. So, first one is going to be from Jessica Adams. So Jessica says, I don't have an outie belly button. I was told by a piercer that I'm not a suitable candidate for a belly button piercing, with no explanation. Is this accurate and why? Jessica, I would probably say that you probably have a really flat stomach. Once again, as always, I'd want to see your belly button just to make sure, but I would say you probably have a really flat stomach, and for whatever reason, you just don't have that prominent ridge. So there's not enough tissue there to support a belly button ring. But I've also heard a lot of people just tell people that for whatever reason, I don't know, and they come into my shop and their navels are perfect. So maybe just get a second opinion and kind of go from there, all right? All right, Mimi Carter. What types of nose jewelry is best for high nostril piercings? Me personally, I really prefer like a mini barbell. I know like Neo Metal makes a really good mini barbell. Actually, we just started a jewelry company called Solana. We're making really good little mini titanium barbells. Those are probably hands down, in my opinion, the best for a high nostril piercing. So ask your local shop if they're gonna pierce their high nostrils, if they have any of those little mini 18 gauge barbells, okay? Cool. Shannon Robertel? Gosh, sorry, might have massacred your name. So Shannon asked, can you post a video about snug piercings, please? Yeah, we're gonna do that, and I think we're gonna try and get to that maybe today or maybe later this week. So keep a lookout for that. Per your request, we're gonna make that happen. All right, Shannon. So, Shelmith Mwenda says, "Hey, thanks for asking my questions." And then she corrects me on how I spelled her name or pronounced her name in the last video. Sorry about that. Probably actually just messed it up again. Sorry. But it says, I got my nose done, but it got an infection. I'm doing my saltwater soaks, I'll know after a week. What is your advice? Oh, she's doing her saltwater soaks, I'll know after a week how it's doing. So, all right, so it's been a week, so hopefully that worked out for you. But then her last question, or her actual question is, what is your advice on a clavicle piercing? Clavicle piercings, I'm not a big fan of, and I don't know a lot of piercers that are really doing them anymore, but I think you can totally safely do dermal anchors there. So dermal anchors tend to heal really, really good on the clavicle area. So just make sure you get a piercer that knows what they're doing, that should be able to put that, should be able to perform that for you, no problem. All right. All right. Next one we have Francesca. So Francesca says, I just got a helix piercing 3 days ago, and ever since I haven't seen any discharge, blood, or scab around my ear. It looks pretty normal at this point. Is this a good sign? Yeah, that's a great sign. Some people just take the piercings really, really well, and it looks like you're one of them. So that's not a bad thing, but that doesn't mean you're not healing still, because you definitely are. So definitely keep with your saltwater soaks, and hopefully, you don't have any problems with the entire healing process, okay? Cool. Tommy, did you do surgery in your ear? They look normal again. Yes, I did. I had a friend sew them up for me, and I made a video about it. So go ahead and look back and check it out, all right? So thanks, Tommy. Ashley Marie. I got my belly button pierced in December, and I'm allergic to certain types of metals. What types of metals do you recommend is safest to not have an allergic reaction? Titanium, always. ASM F136 titanium, that's probably the best metal for navel piercing, and you shouldn't have any problems with that whatsoever. And then Ashley also asked, is a rook piercing higher up on the scale as far as pain-wise goes? No, it's just the same as any other ear piercing. A lot of people emphasize certain areas or certain parts of the ear as being more painful than others. I don't agree. I think it's all the same. As long as you get a piercer who knows what they're doing, it should all be just as easy if you're doing an earlobe or a rook piercing, Super easy. All right, Kim Madden. She says, I love all of your videos, first of all. Well, thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. And she says, I try to watch as many of them as I can when trying to decide which piercing I want next, which brings me to my question. I've always wanted tongue piercing, but was always afraid to get it. I finally found the courage to do it last summer and went to a local shop. I talked to a piercer about all the precautions and how to care for it, and when he asked to see my tongue, Once he did, he told me he wouldn't feel comfortable piercing my tongue because I have 2 veins that run down the center of my tongue and connect to the tip. Should I just give up wanting to get it done or ask around for more opinions locally? You know, if you're doing the middle, you should be able to do it, no problem. I've never really heard of a vein going down the middle of your tongue that can mess with the piercing or the healing process. Now, there is one thing maybe you're getting confused with is the webbing. If your webbing on the bottom of your tongue is too close to the tip, then it makes it a lot harder to pierce and sometimes not possible at all to pierce. So I'm not sure if you're referring to the webbing or the vein, but if it's just the vein, your webbing's totally fine and really far back, you should be good. I wouldn't stress it. Just go get a second opinion. But if it's the webbing, then you're probably not going to be able to get it done, okay? All right, Trinity Chisholm. Are tongue barbells and nipple barbells interchangeable as long as they're the same gauge? Yeah, totally. As long as they're the same gauge and the same length, then yeah, it should be totally fine. I've put 12 gauge and 14 gauge barbells in both tongues and nipples, and usually 5/8 and 3/4 are pretty standard sizes for both those piercings, depending on your tongue, your nipple size. But yeah, I would feel pretty safe interchanging that jewelry, no problem. You know, as long as your sizing's correct. Cool. All right, Alaric Okami. All right, 2 questions. I got my helix pierced 4 months ago, and it's not healed. The piercer said it should take 2 to 3 months. I still get crust buildup, and it's still sore to touch. Is it normal for helix piercing to take much longer? Yes, for sure. Helix piercing can take up to a year sometimes, and you know, depending on what you're doing with it, and if you're not bumping or knocking it, or if you're like sleeping on it a bunch or anything like that could also cause a lot of problems. And make it take a lot longer to heal. So yeah, but definitely, I usually say 2 to 3 months is like your base healing, but expect it to be like maybe another 6 months or so after that before it feels really, really comfortable and good, okay? And then you have a second question, what are the earliest signs of blowout when stretching your ears? The earliest signs, just like tissue starting to bulge out the back of your ear, pretty simple. If you're starting to notice a lot of soreness and tissue kind of like building up on around the plug behind your ear, you're probably starting to get blowout, so maybe drop it down a size or start trying to figure out how to make corrections for that, which we've made videos that can totally help you out with that, okay? All right, what are some unique, unproblematic for your health piercings? I don't think any piercings are really problematic for your health. So if there's a piercing you want, go for it. You know, as long as it's done correctly with the correct metal and the correct jewelry, you shouldn't have any health problems stemming from any body piercing that I know of that are within the realm of like your average, normal, typical body piercings, okay? All right, Trinity Chisholm. How will I know if I'm able to get my tongue pierced? Pretty simple. If your tongue, you can stick it out of your mouth, you should be able to get it pierced. The only reason you wouldn't be able to is if your webbing is too close to the tip. Then sometimes you can't get that done, all right? And then they also asked, I was told to not do saltwater soaks for piercings. That's not true. You should always do saltwater soaks for piercings. We go by APP standards, which is the Association of Professional Piercers, and they recommend saltwater soaks for body piercings. So definitely do saltwater soaks for body piercings, okay? No matter what anybody else tells you, okay? Nicole Fletcher. I got an industrial piercing a week ago, and the swelling and redness in my ear hasn't gone down at all. Is that normal? Yeah, totally. You know, a week is when you're gonna get most of your swelling. Second week, you might get some residual swelling. As long as your jewelry is long enough and the proper length, then I don't see why that's a problem. That's totally normal. But you don't want it to go longer than maybe a couple weeks, okay? So if it is going longer than a couple weeks, go and see your piercer. Maybe you need it to like upsize your jewelry or make it a little bit longer, or switch from, if you have a ring, to like a bar or something like that, okay? Also, it says my ear constantly hurts. It's throbbing. Is that normal too, or should I be concerned? Yeah, that is normal if it's still swollen. But once again, if your jewelry's too short or your ring's too small, that could be causing that throbbing and swelling. That's not a good thing. So, you know, if you're concerned, just see your piercer and they should be able to help you out with that. But it's usually either part of the normal healing process for a week or two, or if your jewelry's too small, it can be causing that to last a little bit longer than normal, okay? All right, Nim Nim. I've had my tongue pierced for 6 months and it's fully healed, but it looks like it's just a small tear right in front of the jewelry. Not big, just a little. Will it change in the future? It's probably not a tear. It's probably just like from the ring resting on that spot and putting pressure there. Yeah, that should heal up. It should be totally fine, but I'd really like to see it in person just to make sure, to give you a definite answer on that. But it's something that I wouldn't be too concerned with. It's probably, like I said, just from the pressure of the bar resting on there, and it looks like a tear. Maybe get your jewelry downsized if your jewelry is still long. If it's the initial bar you got pierced with, I'd probably try and put a little bit shorter bar in there. That might help you also, okay? All right, Melanie Ramirez. I have a bump next to my nostril piercing, and it almost looks like it's full of blood. I think it could be a granuloma. How should I treat it, and will it go away on its own? I got my piercing a little over a month ago. Those are super common. Most people get their nose pierced, get those. It's usually a sign of trauma, meaning using too harsh of a cleaner, or your jewelry's getting bumped or not too much. So leave it alone, and I would just suggest doing saltwater soaks. They usually go away on their own, but just leave it alone, just let it be, okay? But you should be good, all right? Saltwater soaking is like the best thing you can do for that, hands down, and just building a force field around it and try to keep the trauma at bay, okay? All right, Ryan Reyes. How soon can you stretch your ears? And if you can in a week, what are the side effects of doing it too soon? You definitely can't stretch in a week, all right? So in between stretches, I say a month minimum. If you can go longer, that's even better, okay? The side effects of stretching too soon would be tearing your ear, and rather than growing your earlobe, where your earlobe gets bigger as the plugs get bigger, so your earlobe stay nice and healthy and look really nice, you're actually causing tears. And when you put that plug in there too soon, you're just filling those tears, and your ear just doesn't ever grow. If anything, it thins out and gets super thin as you continually do that. And you can split your ears, you can break them, and it just doesn't look good, like, at all. So take your time with stretching your ears. Can't stress that part enough, okay? All right, Carrie Barkus Peters. I've had my nipples done for a little over a year. One of my nipples is apparently smaller than the other, and every time I change it with the same sterilized metal, it always swells and feels like it gets infected. It's so frustrating. I'd love to be able to change them, but they always act like this, and I have to go and put my original ones back in. I've ordered jewelry from y'all, and even they seem to be infected every time I change them. Do you know why this would be a problem or an issue? Yeah, I mean, the only thing I think of is make sure, maybe for you in your case, you want to make sure you're doing like a titanium jewelry, because maybe you're having metal sensitivities. I don't know. But also maybe your jewelry just isn't ready to be changed. And with the human body, like, we're not robots or machines. So sometimes you have one side that might heal up really easy, and the other side might not heal up so easy. So maybe that one side just isn't ready to be changed yet. So I would just leave them alone, do saltwater soaks, wait it out even longer before you start changing them all the time. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's the way you're changing it, you know, if you're just doing it dry and not using any kind of lubrication, or maybe if you just sleep on that side a lot, that could be causing it to continually stay irritated. You know, once again, if you're really concerned, just go have a piercer take a look at it. I could definitely give you a better assessment if I was in person seeing it, but those are my guesses. I would just say give it some longer time and wait a little bit more before you start changing all the time. Maybe just not quite ready, that one side, okay? All right, Emily Keenan. Can I get my belly button re-pierced? There's a very big and thick scar from it getting almost ripped out last time. Yeah, you should be able to get it re-pierced. Just make sure you go with a piercer who feels comfortable doing that for you, because there's a little bit more to it. So I wouldn't just let anybody re-pierce your belly button. But if you can find a really good, even like an AP certified, or like just a more knowledgeable piercer in your area to do that for you, you should be able to do it, no problem. So yeah, so I'd feel totally safe doing that for you, you know, easily. All right, Wayne Kelly. I've just started my ear stretching journey. I'm currently at a 4 gauge. I got your red glass plugs and I really love them. I've just now started to notice my ears oozing and my ears are a bit smelly. Can you give me some solid advice on cleaning and how long this will last? You know, it's just one of those things. You know, your ears, I don't really know what you're referring to as oozing. I know during the initial stretch, if you know, maybe that first week or so after stretching your ears, they are gonna get off some crust and discharge because your body's generating new skin cells are kind of growing. So that might be the ooze you're referring to. And the smell, you know, anytime you use a non-porous material such as glass, you're gonna get a little bit of a buildup and a funky smell. So like that first maybe like 3 or 4 weeks, you don't really wanna take them out. But after the 3 or 4 weeks, you can start taking those out and just clean them with antibacterial soap in the shower, and that should really eliminate that funk or that smell. And yeah, just do that every day in the shower. But wait till they're more healed before you start doing that, okay? Ness and Nat. If you've done everything you can to take care of your piercing, but it's still painful, crusting, bleeding occasionally, and having keloids, when should you give it up and let it close, or should you keep trying no matter how long it's been? That's a good question. It depends on the piercing, and depends on what jewelry you have in there, and depends on how it was pierced. If it was a really bad piercing with really bad jewelry, or even just one or the other, you might want to just, well, if it's a really bad piercing, you might want to take it out and just get it re-pierced. So that's something where you're going to have to go into a shop and have them check it out and let you know if that's the case. If it's really bad jewelry, it's always a good idea to upgrade your jewelry to a more high quality jewelry. It's one thing, I just need to see it in person, because there's a lot of different ways to answer that question. But it sounds to me like you just need to go see somebody and have them take a look at it and give you a better opinion up close and personal, or in person, okay? All right, Data Spick says, I've been stretching my earlobes for over a year now. I did have an issue back at 8 gauge or 10 gauge. I'm at 2 gauge for 5 months and it just won't go to 1 gauge. I've even tried bondage tape, doesn't stay on the glass plugs, and the PTFE tape aggravates my ear. What should I do? Thanks. Man, it sounds like you're on the right track. I mean, 2 gauge to 1 gauge, that should be a really, really easy stretch. If you're having problems with that and your ear's just not taking it on your own, go into a shop and have them do it for you, okay? Because a shop should be able to do that for you, no problem, 2 gauge to 1 gauge. Like, I don't see why that would be an issue. So just find a piercer in your area that knows what they're doing and have them do it for you, and that you shouldn't have any problems, okay? All right, I'm Miss Piggy, all right? I stumbled across your channel actually by Googling about something else, and I wanted to ask 2 questions. I just got my cheeks and lip pierced literally almost a week ago, and I was watching another channel where the girl said in her opinion she didn't think that having I'm assuming you're talking about lip ring, to start was a good idea because it moves a lot and it could cause bacteria to get in the hole. I watched your last video where you said something about a certain named hoop piercers use where it's only 1 ball. My question is, my piercer uses a hoop where I have a ball connected on each end. In your professional opinion, do you think that was a good choice to use instead of the 1 ball hoop? It sounds like you have a circular barbell in there instead of a captive bead ring. Yeah, that's totally fine. I don't see any issues with having that. The only issue would be is if the ring is too small. So as long as it's a big enough ring, you should be totally good there. And my second question is for my cheek piercings, which I heard you say that you really weren't a big fan of doing, and in hindsight, I probably should have went with the dermal inker, but when should a client stop feeling pain in their cheek with a fresh dimple piercing? Ooh, that's a tough question also. Those cheek piercings, they're just tricky. So they're gonna be a battle. As long as it's not like, insane amounts of pain, but it's probably gonna feel irritated and sore and tender for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, I don't know. It's just a lot of tissue to try and heal, and everybody struggles with those. So just know it probably will eventually be fine as long as you're taking proper care of it and you have the proper jewelry in there. But do know that those are just going to be a battle for a while now. So yeah, so I don't have a better answer for that one for you. All right, Kelsey Sharp. I got my doth pierced about 2 months ago and it has keloids on it that won't go away and it isn't healing. I have a hard time soaking it because it's so far in my ear, and to get all the nasty stuff out, I don't know how else to use it besides a Q-tip. But I know that's not good to use, and when I try to clean it, it always moves around, making it worse. So for a doth piercing, yeah, it is tricky when to soak. I would say do a compress, and that would be where you take like the coffee cup, fill it up with a saltwater solution, microwave that for a few seconds until it's body temperature, and just take a paper towel, dunk it in that saltwater solution, and just compress it on there. And let it soak that way for like, 7 to 15 minutes. Let it soak that way for a bit, and then after that, you can take that same paper towel, fold it up and get the corner, really dab that in the saltwater solution, and just kind of like try and clean that off. But for the most part, don't worry too much about cleaning a lot of that buildup off. It should come off with that compress, or even in the shower. But you can lightly wipe away after the compress when everything's really soft and wet and comes off easily, okay? But just do a compress, okay? Or there's saline sprays. You can always get a saltwater spray, but I think the compress, in my personal opinion, is a little bit better. But saline spray is also an option, okay? All right, Angel Baby says, hi, I got my Medusa piercing back in July of 2018. Around 3 months, I started to develop a piercing bump. I still have the bump to this day. I've been keeping it with the sea salt soaks, and I tried tea tree oil. It keeps going in cycles of getting super big, and the bump will drain pus, sometimes a tiny bit of blood, and get super small. Everyone tells me I should take it out, but I don't want to let it go and just be left with the bump. What should I do? I've experienced the same exact problem with my navel piercing. It took well over a year to heal, but now I'm left with a permanent scar tissue from the piercing bump. Okay, so for that one, that's a tricky one. There's a good chance maybe your body just scars really easily. So that could just be what your body does. Also, you know, once again, I haven't seen your piercing, so I don't know, but maybe the angle is really drastic on your piercing and that's causing scar tissue. So it could just be a bad piercing. But I don't know that for a fact. It could be bad jewelry. So it's one of those three things, I'm guessing, you know, or if you're just not taking care of it properly. You should only be doing saltwater soaks and not spinning and rotating it, okay? So maybe get your angle checked. Make sure the angle's good. If your angle's not good, pull it, let it heal, and redo it. Yeah, it sounds like you might be left with a little bit of scar tissue there, but you can probably just pierce right through that scar tissue again, no problem, if your angle is bad. Or, you know, if you have cheap jewelry in there, like externally threaded jewelry or something of that nature, you know, switch out to maybe a titanium, like a little titanium labret post or something like that. That might be better for your healing process, okay? So hopefully that helps you. All right, Gemmo123M, all right, she says, I pierced my lobe in September of 2018 at an 8 gauge. It doesn't seem to be healing. Do I just downsize or take out the jewelry and let it heal up? Will there be scar tissue that will make it difficult to stretch? It doesn't seem to be healing. I mean, it depends. What kind of jewelry do you have in there? You know, as long as you have some good jewelry in there, it should heal, no problem. And then hopefully your angles were good on the piercing. So if they did good angles, that should also help. But if you decide to take it out, you know, take it out, let it shrink up or close as much as it will, you know, especially if you've had it for that long, it might not close all the way, but if it does, take it out, let it close, and you should be able to re-pierce right through that scar tissue, no problem. I'd feel totally comfortable doing it, and then start your stretching process all over again. But I would only recommend that if, you know, your angles on that piercing were bad, and it just wasn't maybe good placement or something like that, and yeah, you can always take it out and see if they heal up. You know, if they don't heal up, they just shrink up, then start stretching them slowly again and see if that helps you at all, okay? Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I'd really like to see that one in person also. So that would be really helpful to give you a better answer on that one, all right? All right, last question. Abel Aguilera, what's it take to be your apprentice? Man, that's a good question. I've answered that question in a previous video. So I do have a video you can totally check out, and you know, if somebody went and did everything in that video and then showed up at my shop, we always need piercers, you know, and I would totally take you serious, and I probably wouldn't have a problem giving you an apprenticeship. So yeah, go ahead and check out my previous video. I definitely have a video on how to become a body piercer, and yeah, maybe I'll hear from you one day, all right? So there you guys have it. Hopefully you guys learned something from that, or hopefully those answers helped you guys out. We're gonna try and do this more regularly. Hopefully, I know I say this all the time, but hopefully we'll do this on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. So if you guys have more questions, go ahead and put them in the comment section. And for episode 4, I'm gonna definitely try and answer them all once again. And yeah, man, I really look forward to answering you guys' questions. I'm actually pretty excited about this series. It's kind of a fun one to do. So thanks for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys next time.